But the senator, while indoctrinated, could not explain his toxicity.
You should not listen to men's rights advocates if you want to know what they have to say.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Fireside Chat. This is number, what are we on? 72! I remember because in Chicago in 1986, we had our NFL champions, the Chicago Bears, and on them was, well, I was just a kid at the time, my favorite football player, the Refrigerator Perry, whose number was 72. So this is number 72, the Refrigerator episode.
Wow, that's a way to date yourself with William Refrigerator Perry reference.
Yeah,
that's digging deep.
Yeah, I'm an old guy. So I'm joined by Jeremy from Unsleeve Media and host of The Quartering. That's the channel that I know him as. Jeremy, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on the Fireside Chat today.
Hey, thanks for having me. Sorry I was a bit late. I have a new kitty in the house, so it was a bit of a mad dash to get down here by 7.
Oh no,
all is well.
I understand the whole new pet thing. I got a new dog. He's only been here a couple days, and he is already more than a handful. Look, he hears me talking about dogs, and he comes over right away. Hey, Jojo, how you doing? I named him Jojo because I'm a big Jojo fan. So tell me a little bit about what do you do, Jeremy? What did you do before? Because this is the thing that this is really funny about YouTube. I watch a lot of YouTube, partly because it has to do with what I do as my job as Honey Badger Radio producer and host of some of the shows. And, you know, it kind of gets me in tune with what's going on. And then I inevitably get recommended to videos by channels I've never heard of, which inevitably leads me to talking to those people. So it's interesting because I came across your videos as recommendations based on other stuff I watched. Like I watched, you know, all the MythCon stuff, and I've been involved with Comicsgate, talking with, I don't know if you know about these people, but Diversity in Comics and Micah Curtis and Mim Headroom and stuff. Yeah. And of
your
course,
boy Zach.
The
Sunny
boy
D
Zach. That's right. It's Purse Puppy Squad, you know, shout out. Right. So
Squad represent.
Yeah, and it's funny how it kind of connects everything together. Of course, I used to, and I'm just gonna, this is not entirely on topic, but I just want to point out how I found you. So I used to do a regular show with a great YouTuber and a great chick that I knew named Bunny Blackwell. And I was a big fan of her content. I watched it, you know, whenever it come on. And then Bunny, she took a hiatus and she's kind of indefinitely not going to be on YouTube because she's focusing on her own stuff. She's still a student. She needs to finish. So I missed that because she had the sciencey brain that I liked, and we did a lot of great work together. And then it was so strange. Shortly after that, I came across Aiden Paladin. She just popped up as a recommendation, and I started watching Aiden, and I was like, this is like the same thing. She's like, she feels the same need, you know, except that Bunny was more biology and Aiden is more sociology, but still great. And so inevitably, just from talking with these great people, I love Aiden, I love Micah Curtis and Mim. I've known him for a few years now, and Diversity is great and everything. Your content started popping up, and you were talking about stuff related to people I've spoken to with Sargon and with, you know, the comic stuff and other sort of, I guess you could say, cultural issues that you are concerned with.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't actually know that you were having your own struggles. So when I'm sorry, the dog is making noise in the background, guys. So, when I found out that, you know, that this was going on, which I would say I saw a stream that you did There was one with Bearing, and there was one with Aiden, and it was actually the one with Aiden that got my attention. So I was like, oh, and then on top of that, and this is something we'll get into, Nick Redding, who is somebody who I know from Canada, and he was also an MRA that did Men's Rights Edmonton, and lots of great work with that a while back. He reached out to me and he was like, you got to get this guy on because this situation is a lot like the situation that you guys have been through, which you and I talked a little bit about before. So, and I think it is related, and I want to get into that. But first, I think that we should probably get the other people that are watching the stream right now, if they don't know, kind of caught up on what's going on with you and what's happened. Because they're probably wondering why this is, why you're on the show. And I didn't even get to that part.
Yeah. Yeah, no problem. Well, I mean, do you want to take that, or do you want me to?
Yeah, no, I'm going to give it to you. But first thing is, I guess, what is it, before all this happened, what did you do? Like, what was your YouTube channel about? What were your, what was your thing? And what is it you do? And then how you sort of, get to this point.
Sure. So I'm actually going to kill my camera and see if that helps with some of the buffering that's going on. Apparently.
Are you having, oh, you know what? YouTube is just terrible with buffering. You can cut it off. I don't think it's going to change that much.
Oh.
I don't mind the camera personally. And guys, if you're watching this and you're having a lot of issue with buffering, and I know that that's a problem, it's because, well, I don't know for sure, but it seems to be because I'm using Open Broadcaster software, and I'm streaming to multiple platforms, not YouTube alone. So I'm streaming to 2 YouTube channels, Facebook Live, Periscope, Ustream, live stream, and also Twitch. So if you're having issues, I found that Twitch is the best for handling that, because normally when we do the other shows, we don't use a camera and we still have buffering problems. So try just going to Twitch. There's no issues. Fiona Johnson just said there's no buffering issue on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/Honey Badger Radio. So you can just go there and watch it. And I still show anybody who comments, you guys can still donate, do whatever. So that should be good shit. So yeah.
All right, good. Yeah, you're probably maxing out your pipe. Usually when I have a pretty spicy connection, and if I do even just Twitch and YouTube, that's kind of it.
Yeah, it's pushing it. So I need to get a spicier connection, is what you're saying. Like crazy, like fiber optic cables and T3s and whatever it is that, Wizards of the Coast has, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have like 30 or 40 up, something like that, and it's still like I can do Twitch and YouTube fine. But anyway,
yeah, I
sure.
got like 15 up, and so
that feels like it should be enough for both. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at Twitch now; it seems fine. In general, I've had a lot of different YouTube channels. This one in particular, the one embroiled in controversy, is Unsleeved Media. It's essentially just covers one trading card game, Magic the Gathering.
Yep.
It covers other things, but I built the channel on the backs of Magic the Gathering, basically. And I cover occasional things here and there, but usually my audience isn't really super interested in it when I mix it up, but I still try to.
Right.
And I've had some run-ins in the past. I mean, I would say it's fair to say that sometimes I don't think before I speak. But at the same time, like, I don't think I've ever said anything actually like that offensive, so to speak. Like, I've said some things that offend some people, but I've never said anything like really over the line.
Mm-hmm.
And so a year ago, roughly, I dared to make a bathroom-related joke during the time at which the trans bathroom issue is going on, and the company that makes the card game was offended on behalf of all trans people.
Oh God! What was? May I ask what the joke was? Do you remember it?
Oh yeah. You know what's funny is, like, I totally remember it because I remember this is the first time I ever got I was never had any interactions with basically a hate mob. I've never had, the first time I went through this a year ago, I had no idea what was going on. It was during the trans bathroom thing. And, to be clear, poop where you want, don't care. Somebody like tweeted to me and said something like, I identify as a planeswalker. What bathroom should I use? And to which I replied, send your pee into the aether, like a literal Magic the Gathering dad joke.
That's all it was. It was just a.
That's like word for word. Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah. Okay, so that's okay. So there's actually, I don't see how that could hurt anybody. Like you'd have to be like neck deep in postmodernism to figure out how that's a problem for you, right? So
yeah, I mean the only way I can really understand it is you have to be somebody who like wants to be offended.
Yeah.
That's the only way anybody's really. So like, I only follow a few people on Twitter, and like I follow less than 20. Like I'm gonna drop my best friend's black thing here. Just I'm self-aware, but I don't know many trans people. Most people don't. I'm friends with 2 male to female trans people on Twitter. We are always like cracking jokes back and forth, and they're the only litmus test I had, and they both thought the joke was lame. Like it was supposed to be lame. Like
right.
They were they were 0% offended. They were only offended that it was such a terrible joke.
Yeah.
So Wizards of the Coast, their community manager, literally makes a public statement calling me transphobic and all this horrendous stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I didn't really know how to deal with it. So I made the biggest mistake of all. I apologized. And there's been several instances in which, say, I've gone against the grain in this particular gaming community. It's not a small community. It's somewhere between, well, there's more than 10 million players, a minimum, I'm
gonna date myself again.
Yeah.
So in the 90s, I used to work at a game store here in Chicago. It was called Gamers Paradise, and it was a locally owned game store that was actually, the chain was owned by the guy who created the Axis and Allies games, which were like these military strategy.
Oh, yeah, I still have them.
Yeah, the World War II board games or whatever. I never played them. But that was his thing. Like he made them, and he also owned. I mean, he owned a lot of shit, but he also owned these game stores. And I started working there, and I became key holder. And Magic the Gathering came out. Like it first came out about maybe 6 months after I started working there, and I knew nothing about it. It was brand new. But since I worked there. And I was, I'm a big gamer nerd myself, so I was like, well, I'm gonna try this out, and I was just like, I was getting boxes and boxes of cards, and I never became hardcore. This was a brand new thing. I think I did it for a year, and then I ended up selling all my cards because I just couldn't keep up financially with it. But I am familiar with it.
That's totally. I mean, to be honest, that's totally common too. Like. I've been playing since '94, and I've sold out and bought in like 3 or 4 times. It's just eventually, you get tired of that hamster wheel, pouring all sorts of money.
Yeah.
Or you get a girlfriend or significant other. Yeah. Or life happens.
I did the same thing with HeroClix. I did fell into the same trap. But I'm sorry, that's a little bit off topic. So.
No.
Going back to your story, I just wanted to tell you that I am somewhat familiar. I just haven't played it in a long time. I remember having
You're sympathetic.
Red and black deck was my thing, but anyway.
Good deck. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about Magic, right? Like, there are way more players like you, who like now you're dormant, but the amount of casual players in Magic the Gathering is like 95% of the player base. 5% of the player base are these like kind of pro players, which tend to be elitist, and they also tend to be far left leaning.
Oh yeah.
And so I don't know. I don't know why that is.
I was just gonna ask, like, okay, so Well, let's back it up a little bit because I am curious about this because I've been seeing stuff like this happening in a lot of, let's say, normally male-dominated communities, like, you know, in interests, hobbies areas. You see it in we had it happen in video games. We had it happen in comics. It's currently going on now. We had it happen in Pathfinder. People are saying it's going on in Dungeons and Dragons, in Warhammer 40K. You know.
Yep. Warhammer's under. Yep.
Yeah.
My theory is probably, this is not my own original idea, I'm sure, but it always seems like, I'm not an expert on the social justice archetype of warrior, but it seems like they're attracted to places where there are weak men. That I mean, this is, hey, I'm a Magic player. I've played since 1993. I know Magic players. I wasn't always so strong-willed.
Sure.
Most of us aren't still, and so they present an easy to control target. I mean, I think, you know, most people are more optimistic about comics than I am, but that fight is lost. You know, comics is lost, and Magic is lost, and Warhammer is kind of the next thing they're trying to move into with their little Warhammer 40K feminist Facebook group. And I think I've done a lot. I agree with you that the interesting thing about all of this is that it's the same playbook. Yeah. That's why I've been able to stay ahead of it. Like, yeah, okay, I got lifetime ban, whatever. Like, I don't care about that. I mean, it sucks. I hope that they come to their senses. But I knew, like, I just to prove it, like, I released a video before they officially announced it, saying that they were going to ban me. Like, they're so predictable that I'm hoping we eventually, as gamers, wise up to it. And I think the Warhammer community is probably has the best chance. But it seems like they move in. People with this mindset will work for less money than almost anybody else. That's why, as Zach will say, you know, there's 5 of them living in their apartment, and their dad pays the rent as a pence to. That's how they fight the patriarchy or whatever. And they work for nothing. They don't care about the hobby. They care about getting their blue verified check. And then they care about, like, moving on. They want to go work at, I don't know, BuzzFeed or something.
They want another job, but they're doing something like this. They don't care about it. It's basically like a means to an end. It's like a you know, it's just another sort of, like, you know, step on the ladder, as it were, while they're climbing to something else. Yeah,
it totally is. I mean, in my opinion, and I really, you know, even as somebody who plays a lot of games, I really, really do hate gatekeeping. And I really, really do people that I really hate people that are like, oh, you're not a real whatever, you know? But I'm going to contradict myself here because I've just been sitting back and researching this. Like, Heather Antos doesn't give 2, like, turds about Marvel. Okay. She doesn't. There's Mags Visaggio. She does not care about comic books, period.
Absolutely not.
You know, so it's like, oh, go ahead.
Well, no, I was trying to remember the name of the queer Latinx that.
America Chavez.
Yeah, America Chavez, but the creator of that, I can't remember her name, but she's another one that doesn't.
She's trash.
A lot of these guys,
her ideas are trash.
Care. Yeah. Tahisi Coates or whatever. No, yeah.
No, that's not her name.
No. I'm thinking about I moved on because I can't remember that woman's name. So, Gabby Rivera is her name, but the other person is Tahisi Coates, the guy who does Black Panther. So
yeah, you'd be surprised who slid into my DMs today. A very big comic book writer, one that is quite famous for being sympathetic to the cause. I don't know if he wants. No, I won't.
Maybe not. But I have been talking with some of the a couple of, like, editors, you know, that are also sympathetic, but they got to keep their. They can't. They can't come out, as it were. So yeah, we got it. I think it's fine. I'm not surprised that someone came forward, and
it's so sad though. You feel bad for him.
Yeah,
I really do. I told this guy the same thing. I'm like, damn, dude. this is gonna sound self-righteous, but it's like people ask me like, you know, why don't you just let this go or whatever? And to me, it's like it's bigger than me. It's bigger than my banning, and I'm uniquely able to fight this fight. Like I own my own business. These people aren't going to get me fired. These people aren't going to, you know, they can't really. They can, you know, they've come after my Patreon unsuccessfully. I've insulated myself well enough that like that type of person doesn't come along often. Like I looked at diversity in comics and I'm like, dang, dude, this guy's fighting the battle all by himself. And that's when I started covering comic books again. That's why I have on my desk right next to me, every time anyone asks about comics, you know, we got some Mr. Miracle copies. Like, read Mr. Miracle. There are still good comic books, but it's tough out there.
It is tough. I want to speak to the thing that you said before, where you said, you know, it looks like they go to places where there are weak men. I think that there is some truth to that, but what I would add is, I think that that's where they tend to, to get the most success. So they go to places where the men there are kind of, you know, on the socially awkward, nerdy side, like myself. I used to be really introverted and really awkward, and I was like looking for something that would, you know, I guess light my fire. And usually it was like creative, you know, areas that allowed me to engage my mind, and that was where I would go. So I got into comics and, you know, art and stuff like that. And that
those people like to escape too, right? There's an element of escapism to these hobbies, so it's kind of a honeypot for people who maybe aren't in a great place, like from a self-esteem standpoint.
Yes, but I also think that they actually don't often think about like targeting areas where the men tend to be more, you know, submissive or more willing to allow, you know, these people to sort of walk all over them. It just so happens that that's where they do well. For example, they also try to do that within the heavy metal community.
Yeah, I remember.
And we had Metalgate, which lasted about, I don't know, 24 hours. Because the people there, you know, and yes, there are nerdy metalheads, like, but they're not often the kind of, you know, they're not the kind of person that takes shit lying down, since that's sort of like in the spirit of the music itself, is that it's, you know, rebellious and it's in your face and it says fuck you. And, you know, so when these people come and they basically say, you know, and this is what they do in every fandom, and I've noticed that it is almost universally male dominated fandoms. Like, you don't see it happen in women dominated areas. There's no, you know, I don't know, like there's
not many of them. That's the thing. Women,
no, there aren't.
Have a lot of fandoms.
Yeah, I mean, like there's, I don't know, like I guess
like Candy Crush, I guess.
Yeah, the Candy Crush community, or Whovians. That might be, you know, there may be a lot of girls in that. Or
yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah, or maybe what was that show, Supernatural? For some reason, is like
I loved that show.
Yeah, so
it was kind of like X-Files light, but my wife also really liked it too. So I mean, you know, I guess like I think there's a strong girl presence in like normie hobbies. And that's not to be negative, but I guess maybe I'm just not educated on it. I just don't know of any fandom that's like exclusively women, like it is where Magic is like 90% men.
Well, we do on Honey Badger Radio, we do think a lot about you know, the nature of male and female behavior. So I think that you're onto something when you say that they tend to engage, or they tend to become more interested in normie hobbies. But the reason is, I think, and this is just like my theory, and you guys in the comments feel free to disagree with me. You, of course, Jeremy, feel free to, you know, disagree with me too. It's fine. We're just talking. Women tend to take interest in things and become, you know, sort of passionate about stuff that is socially safe. So if it's not socially risky, like because I'm an old guy, in the 80s, okay, to come out and say, I like to play Dungeons and Dragons was essentially social suicide. Like, you don't want anyone to know that you were into it, because there was an ostracization that came with that, right? So you kept it to yourself. and you like sort of, you know, if you ran into somebody who was into it, like maybe they had made a little reference to something, or you got to know them and they kind of bring it up, somebody has to sort of take a risk. Then you realize, oh shit, this guy's into the same thing I'm into. I'm going to try to be friends with this person. Like, especially when you're younger, right?
Well, that's why Gen Con was so important back in the day.
I want to connect with this person. Absolutely. Yeah. I still go to Gen Con. Like, you know,
I went last year. It was amazing.
Yeah, see? So, but I mean, this is true for, or was for a lot of these things. Like, like somebody said Vin Diesel plays D&D. He came out and said that in an interview, and he was even a little bit ashamed. And I'm like, you're fucking Vin Diesel. You could like admit to pretty much anything except, you know, something that was clear. Like, you know, I'm totally into, you know, I don't know, fucking corpses or something. But
there's also there's an effect that I think is like the Big Bangification of hobbies.
Oh yeah.
You know, like, and that makes people that have existed in a hobby and accepted that stigma for long years. I think there's a bit of resentment there. You know, like I always say, like cons are, cons are for normies. I don't go to Comic-Con. That's where like dorks who watch The Big Bang Theory go. Like, I mean, like Gen Con is different. That's different. But like, I don't go to Comic-Cons or stuff like that because that's just, I don't know. Even I'm kind of like,
well,
you know,
yeah, that's.
I was there when people got beat up for liking this stuff. You know.
Yes, they were. That's what I'm saying. If you were a kid back in the day and you were like confessing to collecting comic books or playing Dungeons and Dragons or even playing video games, like, you know, on your 8-bit NES.
Yeah.
I mean, you could get bullied and picked on for that, or at least people wouldn't think that was something that you could, you couldn't say that and have it apply to you for cool points. Like, that's not going to get you any cool points. Not back then it didn't. And I think that even going to cons, like I remember Wizard World, which was like our Comic-Con in Chicago, was like another one of those things that nerds went to because they wanted to get their hands on rare comic books or meet the fucking guy who played in the Beastmaster movie or something, or meet Lou Ferrigno, you know, or something like that. But it wasn't something that had mainstream appeal. And then I think that what happened is over time, the adults or the children that sort of, you know, got into these hobbies, they grew up to become adults, and then they started raising their kids to be nerdy as well, or at least it sort of rubbed off on them. And then that, because they became adults, they kind of made that stuff mainstream. And as nerd culture interests become more and more mainstream, they have a lot more of a safe appeal for more normies to get involved, and especially for women to get involved. Because I think that when, and I'm not saying that it's just because it's popular, but I think that
I don't think you have to peel back on that.
No,
because I think it's required. You know what I mean? Like it has to be popular, in my opinion.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like if something becomes big enough, then more women get involved because they find that it's either socially safe or better, it's socially advantageous. Like you can make more friends this way. Like you can, you know, it gives you something that you get to say, like, oh, I do this hobby. You know, that's why you got like and then the internet really helps, you know, expedite that a lot. And I think that's how you got like the, you know, what we call the fake nerd girl, because suddenly the space becomes one in which if people who don't normally have an interest get involved, they can get like a lot of instant status within that area. And then you have, and then you have, exactly. And then you have people that are like
exceedingly, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's a very low barrier to entry. Yeah, as a female into these nerddoms, like it just is.
Absolutely.
And that's part of like why I push back against this narrative that seems to happen in comics. It happened in Magic, where they're basically, let me give you a perfect example. I don't know if you caught this, but Mark Rosewater, who is the head of R&D for Magic the Gathering, like he's a big deal. When he tweets something, like he's basically speaking for the company. And he tweeted something along the lines of 72% of women who play Magic get harassed. Yeah. And I of course said, show me the receipts. And he actually replied and said, Well, here is a Twitter poll run by a trans women's rights activist,
Jesus,
whose followers are like-minded, and I was like so pissed off that somebody would say something so irresponsible about the men of this game. It's infuriating.
mm-hmm.
And the same thing in comics, right? Like you get people who are basically, I'll say this, like, it's mean, but whatever. Like, gross, ugly people want other people to, or like gross, unhappy people want other people to be gross and unhappy. Like,
Yep.
You can be gross but still be happy, and you don't see those people have that crabs in a bucket mentality. Just look at the author of America Chavez and tell me that it's a happy woman. She's not.
No.
Look at Manny Massaggio. This person is not a happy person. Aubrey Sitterson. This man is not happy. They get into hobbies and they're unhappy and they want other people to be unhappy too. And they're gross and they want to make all their characters gross too. The same thing happened with most of the females in the magic art now. They're all basically men. They're like, gone are the big boo, or even just classic femininity. And people often who fight for this crap will say, oh, well, you want everyone's tits hanging. No, I don't. I just want to never, ever question if it's a man or a woman, like, for the most part.
Yeah, I want to be sure what I'm looking at is male or female. But then, you have to... That's the thing, like, they say, well, we're looking for more diverse body types or less sexualization. It's like this weird return to Puritanism. And it seems to come from this, like, okay, what we need to do is we need to make content. We need to see content in this fandom that men cannot sexualize. Well, how do we do that? Well, we got to make them as unsexual as possible. Otherwise, women will feel uncomfortable because they don't look like these characters.
Yep.
So, and it's like this weird...
But it's totally not true. It's like their own insecurities, because
absolutely
the women that I talk to like voluptuous, good-looking women in comics. Like, I'm not gay, but I'm not for like the healthy at all sizes G.I. Joe. I want my G.I. Joes to be buff and like good-looking. Like, that's what, like, there's like guys like Spawn. I used to love the Spawn comic, not because he was like, it doesn't have to be that way, but there's nothing wrong. And every woman that I've ever talked to that isn't whinging about how the art is in a particular card agrees with me. Mm-hmm. They're like, I don't want these frumpy looking people. I want like people who are classically beautiful or sexy or
it's like
courageous looking or whatever.
You want to see something that you don't see in your regular life because it is in fact fantasy. Like, if I want to see normal looking people, I can just look out my window. Like, and there's plenty of like slightly, or in the mirror, and there are. Well, I mean, I don't know, I do okay, but I'm kidding. But I'd look out my window, and I can look at regular folks. But when it comes to comics, when it comes to video games, when it comes to escapism, you want people tend to like to look at things that are aesthetically appealing, and that means that those people have to be idealized. It's like something that you aspire to. That's why superhero comics are doing so badly, because with these social justice warrior writers, they think that the important thing is to write them as though they reflect the essentially the lowest common denominator of their audience, instead of the thing that is almost unattainable. It's so admirable. Like, you put it up on, it doesn't have to be on a pedestal, but you look at it, you say, shit, man. Well, that's part of I apologize for the language. I noticed that you were kind of guarding your language, but well,
that's your channel. Like, if you swear, then I swear. This is just like one YouTuber to another.
Go nuts. Go nuts. Don't censor yourself. But yeah, you want to see something that tells you, oh man, I want to be like that. It's like they're meant to be inspirational. When the Greeks told stories of Heracles and all of their like incredible myths, everything was incredibly larger than life. They never said, the Greeks, and they were big on the admiration of the human form and everything about humanity. They were big into that, and they even so much so they projected it onto their gods, and then everything that followed that, like just how big everything was. I don't think there were. I mean, if there were, they were probably silenced pretty quickly. But I would not expect that there was a group of Greeks that were like, I don't like that. Zeus and Perseus are so good looking and have perfect bodies. I wish that you guys would sculpt these guys kind of like with fat rolls and cellulite in their legs. And like, no, they didn't care about that. It wasn't about trying to be normal. It was about trying to capture something that is divine, something that is above that. And I think they really missed that point. And it's because, to your point, and it's something that I've said myself, it's because of their insecurities. They need to see themselves. It's like they need something that tells them you're okay the way you are. And I think it's because they're accustomed to hearing that. There's nothing wrong with you. You can do no wrong. You're a good person. You're a moral person. You're just fine. You don't have to change anything. You don't have to, work at anything. You're good enough. And I think that that's how you get to this point where you want to essentially enter a fandom, a community where people have interests, and some of them are enthusiastic and some of them are kind of casual, whatever. And you come in, and while everyone else that's done this has come in and they've essentially only become a part of it because there was something there that they liked and they wanted to get into it. And so they sort of formed their taste around what was available, or they left. If they said, well, I don't like any of this. But instead, these people come in and they don't like anything, but they want to change everything. So,
these people also lack a lot of creativity. I mean, they're the type of people that want... So I have no problem with representation. I really don't. I don't believe it sells anything, but you can go ahead and pursue it if that's what you want to do. Mm-hmm. I have one question, or like one request. Can you please not be so fucking lazy as to like take an existing character and just make it a woman?
Yeah.
Or take an existing character and make them like a different race? Like, I have no problem with strong female characters in comics. What I have a problem with is taking fucking Thor and turning him into a girl and thinking that's doing anybody any favors. Everybody who liked Thor hates it, and people who wanted strong women don't like it either. So like, because these people aren't creative, they can't write a strong woman character because they themselves have no frame of reference for it.
That female Thor is like that whole creation is literally seizing the means of production and redistributing it to the people that they think need it the most.
That's right. Yeah. Fair point. Yeah.
Against everyone's will, and like telling everyone they have to like it.
Yeah. And what's interesting about, this is something that doesn't get pointed out a lot. Marvel doesn't give a shit about Marvel Comics. They don't. Mm-hmm. They only care about maintaining their licenses. If they cared about selling comics, their comic book characters would look like the people they put in the movies. Yeah. There's a reason Wonder Woman's Gal Gadot, because she's fine. Like, there's a reason Thor he's like a classically sexy guy. They're not putting in these healthy at all sizes characters into these roles because they're not dumb, because they need that money. I mean, what do they make up $2 billion a year on Marvel movies and licensing and stuff? They don't care about the comic books. It's just there to maintain their license.
It's like there's two teams, or there are two teams that are not talking to each other there. And it's really weird because, like, it would make perfect sense for you to use the audience that the film creates. So the film comes out, and all of a sudden you have a whole bunch of new people that didn't read the stuff, and they're watching the movies, and they're loving them, and they're like, oh, I want to get more of this. Where do I go? And they go to the comic shop, and nothing there matches what they remember from the films. And, of course, they walk out. That doesn't make sense. Like, you would normally want to, let's make content that's related. Yes, it's like the people who are doing, well, it's to what you said earlier, the people who are making the books don't care about them, because to them this is a stepping stone to do something else. They want to become writers of their whatever communist manifesto they want to make, or whatever it is, they want to become like journalists. Are you do you follow, or were you did you know about Gamergate? I just want to know if you knew
after the fact. I did.
Okay, so because this is all connected.
It's the same
to that.
thing. Yeah,
absolutely. It's yeah. So there are the people who the journalists that that
The
Gamer
gamers
was,
are dead. Like you like, or Cuphead is too hard. Like, not one real gamer. Sorry, hashtag real gamers, but like no real gamers complain that ever complains that the game is too hard. Like, my most fond memories are of the most unforgiving NES games, like Battletoads, Castlevania, Ninja Gaiden. That's one of the like brutally difficult games. Like that's what you remember. Gamers don't complain about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Wizards and Warriors, the first Mega Man,
Which are three
Contra,
popular for a
Contra
reason.
without the code. Try
Contra
that.
in one-player mode. Yeah.
Or Gradius, Life Force, whatever. There were plenty, and they were fun. Yeah, this goes back before that. I mean, people were noticing this creep, and usually the way it works is, and we're gonna get back to your Magic the Gathering story. Usually the way it works is, an industry becomes, or like an interest, it gets money fed into it by mostly men, women too, yes, not all, but mostly men feed money into it until it gets really big and popular. Okay, and then when it becomes really big and popular, it becomes really profitable. It becomes safe to get into. So you get social justice warriors take an interest in it.
Yep.
People who don't really care about it, but they're like, oh, that looks, everyone else is doing it. Let me find out what this is about. They get involved with it.
It's funny. This is a perfect segue into the cue the cosplayers.
Yes. Cosplaying, exactly.
All these women, or not even, I can't even say all these women, these activists, because most of them are like, soy boy men too, but they had a problem with booth babes, so they pushed them out, and then they just made the cosplayer they just made the women a product. They got rid of these. They had all sorts of problems with booth babes, but no problems at all with cosplayer, because somehow that's empowering when being a booth babe isn't. And so when all this controversy really started was a cosplayer in the Magic the Gathering community quit. No big deal. Cosplayers quit every day. The reason this one was different is because she publicly, incorrectly, blamed me. I believe she said, a year or years of harassment from me, and named me personally. And then the mountain of evidence basically was, I was drunk and I made fun of her in a stream 6 months beforehand, and I had made 2 tweets in that period. So I make a live stream, and she had tweeted out basically some young kid left a YouTube comment, like YouTube comments often read, and it said like, I came for the cosplay, but I left with a boner. Like some total like whatever. Who cares? And then, like, she posted it like she had survived some sort of assault. And then I was making fun of all the people, like, miladying in the comments, like, ooh, stunning and brave, And that was all it was. My second channel was new, and I was kind of just shit posting a little bit, having a little bit of fun. I think there was, like, 8 people on stream. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like I had thousands of people watching me. And anyway, 6 months pass, and then she, out of the blue, says that she's quitting because I'm harassing her, and cue the Listen and Believe campaign. And by the way, I don't have any problem with cosplayers. I am protective of socially awkward young men and boys in these hobbies when, I mean, they're an endless money train. These
Absolutely.
They're very easy to be taken advantage of. I don't have a problem. I don't even. So if a cosplayer comes in and is paid large sums of money from a tournament organizer, awesome. If a cosplayer comes in and does it for free because they're a fan, also awesome. When a cosplayer comes in and has a Patreon and expects young men and boys essentially to, hold on a sec, my mic's messed up apparently.
No, yeah, it goes, it kind of like comes in and out of robot mode for some reason, but it seems fine now. It's like it gets a little staticky. I can't hear you. Are you talking? You seem muted or something.
Okay.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Yeah, it does it once, always on Hangouts. So if it does it again, let me know. So
all right.
So essentially, I don't have a problem with cosplayers. I don't have a problem with cosplayers making money. I have a problem with cosplayers' Patreons because young men and boys, in my opinion, view this as some weird courtship. Like they're paying money for some sort of special access. And there are some of these cosplayers that are more like open about, you know, for $20 a month, you can get lewds of me. I don't even have a problem with them. What I have a problem with these ones that come in like, ooh, I love your hobby just as much as you. I play Magic all the time. Back my Patreon for just $7 a month, and you can talk directly to me.
It's kind of like those old 976 call-in things. Or, you know, okay, so I'm going to date myself again. For those of you guys who might be watching.
I think we're about the same age, so be careful. You might do.
Okay. So do you remember, because it's around Christmas time now, do you remember before the internet, before cell phones.
Are you going to go party line on me?
No, before the party line even. But I was thinking about the party line. That there was the party line. But there was that thing where you would see these ads on TV, and it was like, you know, call Santa Claus direct, and they gave you like this phone number,
totally.
and you could call Santa Claus, and it was
just
like
$6.99 a minute.
Yeah. It was this, yeah, and you know, if you're just a kid and they're advertising this to you, and it's like promising that you get to talk right to Santa Claus or his elves or reindeer or whatever, right? And every time, I think it was like every holiday they would do it, like for the Easter Bunny and for, you know, for Halloween, whatever.
Yeah. So predatory. Yeah. You had so many parents angry.
And because a parent would get a phone bill of like $400 and they're like, oh, where the fuck did this come from? And then later that night they would do it again, but this was for adults. They'd be like, call these girls, you know, and I don't even know what was on that. Sometimes I think they were recordings or whatever. But the point is, it was, I guess it reminds me of that now. So it was like, if you, because I know what you're talking about. So there are cosplayers that and you know, cosplay as a genre itself it's fucking dominated by women. Like there are male cosplayers, but it's like dominated by women. Dominated. Now I don't have a problem with that. Like you were saying, one of our co-hosts, Anna Cherry, she does cosplay. I don't care.
So does Aiden Paladin too.
Aiden. Oh, okay. So I don't care about that personally. I don't care if you make money off of doing cosplay. A lot of them do. If you want to make it a job, you know, that there are girls who, they sell photo prints. They work for companies like promoting products like Booth Babes used to do, right?
Yeah.
I've seen some that really put in a lot of work. There was a one girl, I don't know her name, but she did a character from Gears of War, and she had the armor top to bottom. She was one of the female soldiers, and she nailed it. Yeah. And she nailed it, and they got like the, you know, the outfit was done right, everything. Now, there was nothing sexual about it, although sometimes her costumes are sexual because she is a very fit and good-looking woman. So she's done like, you know, Kusanagi from Ghost in the Shell and stuff like that. But mainly,
I have no problem with people like Jessica Nigiri, who's like makes her living. Like porn is fine. I don't have any problem with this stuff. That's what it is, you know. You
know, that's the thing. I was gonna say there are the people who do it professionally that you can tell that for them it's not about sexualizing themselves, it's about the craft. And then there are those who also put a lot of work in and they are sexualizing themselves, but they don't pretend that they're not.
That's it.
Jessica Nigiri, because when we were at a con once, and that's where the story comes from. Jessica Nigiri was right next door to us, and I went over there and said hello to her, and she was super nice, and I knew, and she knew, like, this is like not a secret. She knows what those boobies that she paid for are for.
Of course,
you know, and she doesn't have a problem with it, you know.
Right.
Yeah, just that's it. It's just like, be honest, you know. But there are.
Well, that was a. Yeah, sorry, but
it's okay.
Like you like touched a nerve for me because that's exactly it. Like, you get it. Like people, I was trying to explain to people, like, I don't have a problem with cosplay. I don't care if a tournament organizer wants to play at some stupid cosplayer $50,000 to show up. I don't care. All I care about is be honest.
Yeah.
And, like, don't have these predatory Patreon accounts where you like exclude. She didn't even make her own stuff for the most part. A lot of her costumes are store bought, and she would go from Magic to she'll go to something else. She's not a Magic player, so like, get the Patreon out of here. And she cried in her Patreon video, which is a huge pet peeve for me. And like, just because around you had no makeup on because you're just a fair maiden. Like, and there's so many like people in the Magic community. I mean, she had 300 patrons. I gotta imagine she's probably a couple $1,000 a month, not a huge money, but for what? You know, like if you go into that and you know that's the situation, and you still want to give her your money, more power to you.
Yeah.
My point of criticizing her actions were simply to say, look, fellas, like she's not going to date you. Like, if you know this going in and you still want to give her your money, go ahead. I mean, I buy, you know, a coffee at Starbucks for $6 twice a week, and that's like a no bigger waste of money. So, like, I'm not going to tell someone how to spend their money, but I'm going to try to protect the young men in the community from predatory stuff like that.
You know, if you want to, like, I mean, I see no issue with somebody saying, this is my opinion of what I'm seeing, and hopefully somebody will, you know, hear this, that I'm making the case as to why this, you know, you should know where your money is going and where it's not going. So, you know, if your money is not going towards, you know, it's not bringing you one step closer to her actually going on a date with you, then maybe it would be good for that to be shared, because again, you know, I think that this is a it's not a simple situation where you can just point at someone and say this is your fault, or you're being, you know, you're in the wrong here, because, you know, I'm a free market guy, so whatever you want to do with your Patreon page is up to you. But if you want to explain to the people who are giving this person money, or at least to try to make the case that, hey, you know, what are you expecting to get? Because if the only thing that you want are, you know, these lewd photos or the occasional, whatever it is they do, whatever the extra bonuses are, then if that's all you're expecting, then more power to you. That's not how I would spend my money, but that's on you. But if you think, well, you know what, she talks to me and I think that she actually remembers my name and I think she likes me, yada, yada. Well, maybe it's like, maybe she does, but there's a pretty good chance that she doesn't. You know, and maybe you should be made aware of that, because you might go back and say, oh man, if I look at all the money I spent on Patreon working towards this, you know, what I thought was someone that I could, like, you know, get involved with or whatever, I spent hundreds or thousands of dollars and I got nothing. And
go ahead. I was just saying, it's the same thing. People misrepresent this argument, but it's the same thing as these booby streamers on Twitch. Look, I don't think they should be banned, and I think I more power to them. However, I have my right to have an opinion that Twitch.com or Twitch.tv should not host that kind of content, in my opinion. It's cam. Most of them are just cam whores, who would just have like League of Legends going on in the background.
Yeah, right.
It's not. I think they should do that on some other website, in my opinion. But I also, I don't think I feel strongly enough to say, like, I don't think they're doing anything wrong.
Right.
They're following the terms of service, but I also feel like they're taking advantage of thirsty young men. I mean, when you see some of these girls getting $1,000 or $2,000 donations, these guys are
that's
not.
That's what I'm getting at. So, like, the thing is,
they're gonna have sex with them, you know?
Yeah. The thing is, it's not the girls that makes me upset, because I get it. It works for them, and they're gonna do it, and it makes them money. It's the thirsty guys that gets me upset, because
have some self-respect.
Yeah, like, I want to tell them that. Like, that's one of the things that I try to, because, you know, we're a men's rights channel. That's our focus. But you know, legal rights is one thing, but there's a culture too that we want to talk to. And a lot of times what we try to do, or at least this is the thing that I think is important to me. All right, so I don't want to speak for the other Badgers, because we all have slightly different views on various things, but we're kind of, you know, we're heading in the same direction, but we may have like slightly different views on shit. I'm all about doing these things that most people don't do. One, hold women accountable for the shit that they do that's bad. Like, we give them unconditional praise most of the time just for existing. If they get an interest in a hobby, especially in one where there's a lot of like introverted, maybe a little bit spurgy dudes, right? They're going to, like you were saying, the bar for entry is really low because they just want, like, they're just happy that a girl is taking an interest in the hobby.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my God, we need more women here. This is great, right? What I want the message I want to send is, don't do that. Like, treat a woman who takes an interest in your, whatever it is, your community, the same way you would a man. Just treat him the same. You don't have to be mean. Treat him like a peer, because that is essentially assuming that, you know, you're not also kowtowing to any man that takes an interest as well. It is showing them a kind of respect, which when I say
that's
respect,
that's all they want, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, I think you would agree. Like, I've spent most of my like teen years in a local game store. Girls don't come in there to be like, ooh, a wild woman appears. No, they just want to play the game like anyone else.
Right.
And so
some do, though. And that's the thing. Like, when
Yeah,
you start
that's fair.
yeah, but because when you start to hold, like, basically hold women to the same standards and make them earn your respect. So when I say respect, I don't mean like SJW respect the women's. I don't mean that. That's like unconditional. They don't even mean respect when they say it. They mean praise and pedestalize. I'm not talking about that. I mean, give a woman an opportunity to earn your respect, have standards that you expect from anyone, and then hold people to them. And when they do, give them the respect that they deserve. And they will actually feel more sort of, how do I put it? It's like there's a larger feeling of accomplishment when you have done something that's worthy of someone else's respect, and they actually expect that. And also you do the reverse, you know, you try to earn theirs and so on. It creates a stronger bond within the community, and it's better for these men. And for the women, if you are a woman that's getting involved in the hobby because you genuinely care about it, you'll be prepared to what you were saying. This is what you want. You want guys to see you, and when you say, "Oh, you guys are playing Warhammer 40K, I got my army, let's play," or they want to talk about comics or magic or whatever it is, then you want to earn their respect as well. But that also means that if you guys do that for each other, when people get involved that are expecting immediate, like they're expecting to jump into this sort of low bar of entry, and they don't really, care that much, and they're looking for a way to maybe, exploit people for attention or for money or for praise, just for being a woman or being part of group X, whatever the group is. Oh, look, I'm a, I don't know, I'm a Muslim and I'm interested in, Warhammer or whatever. Nobody deserves extra credit for that. So
yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, when you go into these game stores, nobody gives a shit about any of that stuff. Like, here's what happens in most, and you worked there. Like, on Friday night, if you are trying to have a draft fire, you need 8 people for a draft to fire. You're sitting there at 7 people. It's 5 after 7. The draft's supposed to fire at 7. Somebody walks in that door and says they want to draft. Nobody cares anything about them other than their 8th player. And like this, one thing you mentioned earlier that kind of bothers me in terms of how men are treated in the hobby, by the way, is a lot of these, I don't know, it's going to sound it is an overgeneralization, but in my experience, it always seems like a lot of these people who are talking so poorly about men in the Magic community are either like low energy men or trans females. Like, I very rarely see, like, I mean, there are not many women that follow me on Twitter because it's just the nature of the beast, but like, they don't talk shit about men like these other people do. Like, if most women, look, my wife's getting her pilot's license. She walks in to the first time she had her like second lesson. She walks in, and my wife is a total normie. Like, she doesn't even know what normie means.
Wow, that's like a level 100 normie.
Yeah. She like doesn't even use Facebook. She doesn't. So that's why she's great for me.
Do you guys have like a rotary phone? Is that what she uses to call?
We have a can of soup. But she goes into her lesson, and she walks into the small airport. Like you go to these small local airports, and there's always like the same old.
Does she fly? Is it a biplane or one of those propeller planes? Is her name Gertrude or Mildred?
Yeah,
I'm just trying to see how old
yeah.
she is. Like
yeah. Her teacher's his name's Orville or something like that. But yeah. So you show up in like basically a shed, and there's always these old timers like in their 70s or 80s sitting there drinking crappy coffee. That's like the same in every small airport when you go into the main office area. She walks in, and she's wearing like, I mean, my wife is fit, and she's wearing like short shorts and like a tank top because it was the summer. It was like 100 degrees, and she's like, "Hey, I'm here for my lesson," and of course, like all these old dudes are like, what? Like,
yeah.
And she didn't get offended, right? She's like, yeah, I can imagine. Like these dudes are sitting there all day, and then some 28-year-old woman walks in. Like, I'm here for my lessons. Like, not only do very few women get their personal private pilot's license, but they're not in their 20s and they don't look like my wife does.
Right.
And like
it was a stretch. It seemed a bit unbelievable. Was there an ornithopter in the area? Because I know that.
No. But the and like she wasn't. That's like the thing is like normal people. She wasn't offended. She was like, "Oh my god, you should have seen these guys." They were looking at the floor, and I was like, "Yeah." And then like, but then you have that same run in the Magic community, and you'll see all sorts of articles about how like guys are toxic in the local game store because it's like they have no self-awareness that I'm sorry, but it is rare for a girl to come in and play Magic. It just is. You expect everyone to act like it's another fat neckbeard, and especially if she's good looking, it's really weird. It just is. It just doesn't happen. That doesn't make people evil.
No.
And a lot of these women will like shy, like, they were all so creepy and awkward. So get the fuck out of my hobby then. Get out.
Yeah.
Like get out. Go play something else. Go play tennis.
Yeah, I would echo what you were saying. Like most of the people who usually dig on men in these kinds of communities tend to be men who are looking to gain the favor of women. I'm just going to be straight up with it,
Yeah, sure.
Guys who basically want to be seen as somehow better than the other men in the hobby.
Well, there's always going to be someone maladying for her when they're in there.
And exactly. And they'll basically say, yeah, there's a lot of really nasty, like disgusting dudes.
Yeah, come on over here. I'll protect you.
I've seen this, and I really feel sorry for you ladies. It's a good thing I'm not like that. I'm not one of those guys, and eventually, and that's then it's like the countdown until like they get accused of having done some creepy shit. And
it's every time too. Yeah, every time
it is. And I actually say that as somebody who, wants to stand up for men. And I would even tell guys like that, dude, don't shit on other men to boost yourself, because you have to start holding these women to higher standards, because they're going to treat you like shit, because you see yourself as shit, and you're treating other men as more shit than yourself, because you think that's the only way you can raise yourself up, is essentially to tear other people down. And that's really sad. And the thing is that when it comes down to it, if you don't appear to be worthy of defending, a lot of the women that you're standing up for are not going to come to bat. They're not going to come to bat for you.
Yeah,
they're not going to. And
there's that. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say it's going to be the other dudes. Like, they're
going to pick you up. They're going to pick you up when you realize that you were taken advantage of, and they're going to bring you back into the fold, and they'll forgive you for it. But it's like the same. It's like that meme where it's like miladies rescued on the internet, and it's like scratched on the wall like 200, and like miladies that have thanked me sexually and 0.
Yeah, exactly.
Women don't want to be saved, at least the right kinds, anyway.
Yeah, and the ones that do, you don't really want to fuck with them. Like that's just it. Like you gotta have, and that's what it goes back to what I was saying. You gotta have standards as a man for the kinds of people you want to associate with, male or female. And that means once you stand your ground, and this is the ironic thing about it, okay? If you're the kind of guy that has learned to tell what a thought is from an actual decent female human being, Once you can like just make that distinction and you hold people to those standards and you establish your boundaries and you essentially, this is without force. Like, this is the difference between being a nice guy and being a good guy. This is something that I've talked about. A good guy holds people accountable. He is nice to those that deserve it, and he doesn't give that to people who don't. A nice guy tries to be nice to everyone because he wants to be liked really, really badly. And that makes him not a real, genuine person, and people can see through it. When you go into a grocery store or any store and people are aggressively friendly to you because they want you to buy something, but they act like they're your friend. That doesn't work. Thing. That actually only succeeds in annoying people because they feel it's dishonest. And so if you're just like if you're a person that treats people the way that you want to be treated and you hold them accountable when they don't, and you turn away, what a thought looks like and sounds like and talks like, what a dude that you don't want to hang out with that is not going to, essentially, he's not going to meet your standards of what you want from a friendship or interaction or whatever. And you can make those boundaries known. The ironic thing about it is more women are attracted to that. So you're going to actually attract people. You know
how many women reached out to me when I called her out? Many.
I bet.
You know what I mean? Like, female players don't like that either. Like, especially there are women in my game, like, for example, like Aiden Paladin, who would, I don't know if she would call herself an MRA, but she, I don't know, but she's at least.
We've had her on many times. The thing is, for us, the MRA label, we don't really care if anybody takes it. I personally don't care if you call yourself one or not. Like Cassie J, for example. You know who Cassie J is?
Yeah.
So Cassie J, she made the Red Pill. For those of you guys who are watching that may not know, it was a documentary where she was going to expose the men's rights movement, and as she got more and more involved, she realized that they actually had a lot of really great points and that feminists were wrong about them. And then she found out by the end that she no longer identified with the feminist label. But I got the pleasure of talking to her a couple of times on a few occasions, and I asked her, do you consider yourself a men's rights activist? Now, I wasn't saying this because I wanted to convince her of anything. I just want to know what she thought about the concept of labels in general. And she was like, no, not really. Like, she's like, I'm questioning the whole idea of labels. So she's like, I don't want to call myself anything. And I was like, you know what? It doesn't matter to me. I don't care, because at the end of the day, by making that movie, you have done more for us than most people who do call themselves MRAs, right? And I think that, for me, that's the thing that makes men's rights activists distinct from feminists, because feminists insist that you call yourself a feminist. They don't care what you do. They care that you call yourself a feminist. That's like the only thing that matters to them, is that, do you have the label? Even if you agree with...
Well, that's because their whole world is labels.
Yeah, it's all about labels. It's very important. Yeah. The only thing feminism wants to do is perpetuate more feminism. That's the only goal it has. MRAs, at least in my opinion, shouldn't care and don't care if you call yourself an MRA. They only care if you care about men. That's it. You don't have to call yourself shit. Just, do you. And, like in your case, you say, I'm protective of the men in this community. I see, maybe I was that guy, right? Maybe that's where that comes from, because for me it is.
Yeah, I think the goal of any movement shouldn't be to have more people in the movement. It should be change, right? And
absolutely. So, the goal of any movement should be to make itself obsolete.
So right. So I think I've thought about this question quite a bit in the recent past, because I find myself sticking up for like young men and boys in the Magic community a lot, and in hobbies. And that's why I make videos like that, where I'm like, hey, beware, be gone thought. And like, if you want to ignore me, and give her your money anyway, that's okay. But I bet you there's at least a few people that were on the fence that were like, you know what, he's probably right. She probably doesn't care about me. She probably just cares if I pay her money. And that's a win to me. Like, I'm not going to be able to keep people out of taking advantage. It's just, hey, one down. That's fine. I'll go on to the next one.
Absolutely.
I didn't want her to leave either. I never said that. Never said that. Didn't want her to leave.
Well, I mean, I think that Count Dankula was onto something when he basically said that the reason for her dramatic exit wasn't because she felt pushed out, but rather because her Patreon was declining, and like, you know, it was one of those like, oh, I need to do something, because this works for
it works every time.
It works for women really well, right? Like, and I'm not saying that this is what women do. Obviously, that's not true. But because women that are watching this, you know that there are women that can do it, and they play the victim, and it gets them money. Zoe Quinn did it. Anita Sarkeesian did it. You know, there are plenty of women that do it. They know it works, right?
Did you see how sad? How sad is she right now? No, I'm talking like Anita.
Yeah.
She doesn't even care. She puts out a 60-second video asking for what I interpreted as 25 grand a month in support. It may have just been 25 grand, but it was like, she's so sad. Like, there's no way she got this.
No.
And
well,
she had her
needs
5
it.
minutes in the.
Yeah, she needs it by the end of the year.
Right.
I watched her video, and she needs it by the end of the year.
I couldn't tell if it was. Oh, okay. But so maybe it was just a one-time cash raise. But like, I'm so happy that people are just like, nope. You know what? Everyone, she was one of the greatest manipulators of all time. One of the greatest grifters of all time. She convinced an entire, like, a huge population of the world that to give her money, and she never gave what she promised, and nobody cared.
Yep.
Like,
she got on the
she
Colbert
was a millionaire. Yeah,
she got on the Colbert Report for it.
Fucking intel, and nobody cared. You know.
Yep. But that's it. All she had to do was cry victim, and it got her more money. And then, you know, Zoe Quinn did it. Brianna Wu tried to do it. She injected herself into everything. You know,
she's so gross too. She's not only is she gross, like, hey, objectively, in my opinion, she's gross.
Yeah.
And she's also a terrible human being.
Oh, like, for sure. That's mostly what makes her gross.
That's the worst part about it.
And it's got nothing to do with her being trans, because I'm friends with Theron Meyer and Blair White.
And you know what's funny? I didn't even know she was trans. I just thought she was an ugly girl.
Oh,
that's not, like, you know what? All I knew about Gamergate was basically the Internet Aristocrat videos, and that was like after it all had kind of gone down, like the Five Guys.
Look for photos of John Flint. That was what she. Well, you've probably looked at it before. She looks like
I haven't.
Like a stretched out Martin Short. Just look for it. But
I didn't even know she was. I didn't know she was trans. I just thought she was gross looking, and then somebody told me, like, when she was running for like Congress or something like that, or Senate or something like that, she actually like retweeted me making fun of. I love how she said that thing about moon rocks and then tried to pretend like it was like a troll. Like, no. Everyone made fun of you for being a total idiot, and you can't just now play it off like you were trolling people.
Right. So this. All right. So we got to get back to the magic thing, because I feel like, okay, guys, if you're having issues with the stream. Again, try going to Twitch. It is the most stable. I apologize for that. I just don't have enough vols. I'm hoping, and this is the best I can do in Chicago, which is sad, without paying like a lot of money. But I just don't make enough.
Have Spectrum down there, by the way?
No, Spectrum is not my supplier. I got Comcast, and I think that's actually those are the best guys in my area too. So
Spectrum just rolled out where I live. I don't live in the big city, but I just live on the fringe where they rolled out this new program where it's like I'm currently getting like 400 down and 40 up for $70 a month.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Insane. Yeah. And I was like, oh, you're close to me. I wonder if Spectrum's down there.
Yeah. Are you in Chicago?
No, but I'm in southeastern Wisconsin. So I didn't know if it crossed the border or not.
So you probably used to go to Gen Con back when it was in Wisconsin. Yes?
Yeah, right, I did.
I used to do that. Oh my god, those were good times. I used to go to that one bar that was like
the one? Yeah.
No, there was the one bar, it was like a spy theme. And you had to like go
hell yeah.
Do you remember that?
Safe House.
Yeah, the Safe House. Yeah. I love that place. But now I get in a car with my friends and go down to Indianapolis. I didn't go last year, but I'm hoping to go.
Oh my God, it was the
next
50th
year.
anniversary. I hadn't gone for like a decade. Here's a funny thing. I got a press pass to go last year from a YouTube channel. And these people that follow me around and try to shit on everything, that's the thing about a lot of these social justice warriors. Like, people, it's like I've been saying this a lot the last couple of days. Like, there are millions of YouTube channels I don't subscribe to, and like millions of people on Twitter that I don't follow. I don't understand why these people can't, like, you know what I mean? Like, they follow me everywhere. There's about 100 people that like dislike every video I put up and have for years, and like, just like, holy crap, turn the page. Yeah. And these same people,
do they still watch you though, right?
No, they stay subscribed just to auto dislike. Like, the second I upload, I'll get like 30 dislikes every time. And as like, I don't even care. People think like it doesn't even matter. But so I had a press pass. I made it public that I was going to, and then these people called because the people that run Gen Con are like far left leaning.
Oh yeah.
And they called and said I was bringing a gun and all this stuff, so they revoked my press pass, and I ended up having to call the CEO of Gen Con, and bless his little heart, I was like, hey man, it was the night before Gen Con, and I was like, dude, I know this is literally the last thing you want to deal with, but what the fuck? Because I lost my press pass. They emailed me like anonymously, and then just took it away. And Gen Con was sold out, you know, so I had like my car packed to leave the next morning, and all of a sudden, not only do I lose my press pass, but I can't even get a ticket to get into Gen Con. So like, everything's screwed. I had interviews set up and everything. And then the guy was like, basically, don't tell anyone I helped you, but there'll be tickets at the will call. So like, there are still people out there that are level-headed.
Nice, but they have to do it on the down low, which is kind of sad, right?
I know, it's so sad.
It is.
You know, the guy's a major powerhouse, and he's like, please, you know, don't put out a video and say that you called me in the 11th hour and I helped you, because I just can't deal with it. And I was like, you know what, dude, I totally get it. All I want to do is just get in the door because I have interviews to do. I have everything else. I appreciate you, you know?
Yeah.
It was crazy.
So, you know, we noticed the trend is there's a lot of these, you know, spaces, they are run, or they seem to be run by far left feminist social justice warrior types that have, they're, you know, zero tolerance for people who don't subscribe to their worldview. They see threats where none exist, like with you, right? Or with guys like me, or Diversity in Comics, or whatever.
Well, they make it up. Look at that Melissa Morg thing.
Yeah.
Fabricate it entirely if there's not one.
Well, I think that there's another level to it, and I think that what I've noticed is, social justice warriors tend to see threats where a normal, reasonable person does not. And I think part of the reason is that they have this way of reading into what is said or what is shown, or what they see, and they seem to have a preset, like, hamster wheel going on that basically tells them that everything that they see or experience or hear or read on the internet should be interpreted as in the least favorable way possible.
Well, here's the thing. I posted a picture of a weapon, a firearm that I legally own, and people set this to Gen Con and said I was threatening to bring it to Gen Con.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yes.
I'm like, what are you even talking about? You know, and then I was talking to the guy. I was like, please just do me a favor. Here's my Twitter. This tweet is from like 2 years ago. You know, like, and it's obviously not me saying I'm going to bring a weapon to Gen Con. It's me saying like, hey, look at this new thing I got. It's kind of nice. Yeah. This is why they use the term dog whistling. You know what a dog whistle is? Yeah. Yeah, that's their way of saying, you know, even if it seems innocuous, it must be bad and destructive and dangerous in some way. We just have to figure out how. It's like this crazy religious thing, you know, where there's and I'm not shitting on religious people. Like, at the very least, you know, when it comes to religion, it's
there's like a separation of church and state, but when it comes to social justice warrior, postmodern, neo-Marxist, fucking, feminist shit, it's like a religion still in every way, except that they can and do use state power as often as possible. So to like get people,
they're more dangerous than a religion.
Way more dangerous than organized religion, because they actually do have, people in high places that they tend to use because they believe in companies. And this is probably why the Wizards of the Coast responded by doing what they did, because it's probably just easier for them to do that than, say no. And or they genuinely believe it, because I know like the guys at Paizo, when it comes to the Pathfinder shit, they...
A lot of allies in the Magic YouTube community. There's a lot of people that are indifferent, but there's a few people that really dislike me. And I should say I really don't dislike anyone. But they saw this as an opportunity because she named me. So then they put out these absurd hit pieces about me, like combed through all of my social media accounts for a period of 3 or 4 years back, put everything together, sent it to Wizards of the Coast, and demand they ban me. Now, what does a banning really mean? It means I can't play at my local game store, which sucks. It means I can't play in a big tournament, which is less of an issue. But also they closed my online account and stole, in my opinion, my entire collection, which was worth hundreds of dollars. So they just closed my account and took back all of their cards and actually had about $100 in in-game currency in there that they took. Seems to me like the absolute bare minimum thing you would do is make some sort of refund concession.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would think, you have a EULA that I signed in court, maybe you make it stand, but just to not look completely stupid, you say, all right, well, we valued your account at $500. Here you go. Like that just seems like the right thing to do. Even if I was like a convicted murderer, they would owe me that. Like, it's still my money. And
now forgive me if you didn't already say this, but Wizards of the Coast, they did this. Did someone blew the whistle on you and they responded by doing this? Is this kind of like, okay.
Yeah. So somebody, I mean, this is the second or third time they've tried to get me banned. And I should say, as correctly pointed out in chat, I cannot play in sanctioned events. That means like Friday Night Magic or pre-releases. I can still play at my local game store if I want. I just can't play in like organized events. And it's something I cover for the channel. So that does suck. And I travel 3 or 4 times a year to these big tournaments. I participate in them. I give video coverage. So this is an issue. They also stole my collection. This is an issue. So I gave them an opportunity via email. I mean, the evidence they sent me in their email of their investigation, like 2 of the 10 images were actual, like literal Pepe memes. That I had posted a Pepe meme on my personal Twitter 2 years ago was one of the 10 pieces of evidence they sent. This is absurd. It was like a kangaroo court. These content creators who are close with Wizards of the Coast have wanted me gone for a long time because I'm critical of them and at times probably mean about my criticism. And not always, but sometimes I can put a little extra salt on it when I probably shouldn't. So you don't make a lot of friends that way. But I'm not doing anything illegal or toxic, and it's certainly not harassing, which is what they keep saying. Like me making one video about you 6 months ago is not harassment. If I made a video about you every 3 weeks, it wouldn't be harassment. Like it's just not. And I'm allowed to critique things. It's like these people think sportscasters shouldn't have a job because what if the player goes and feels bad about a sports writer saying they didn't have a good game? This is like absurd. So ultimately, I thought they would suspend me for some amount of time, but they actually went full moron and did a lifetime ban. Now, anybody that ever gets a ban always gets an appeal, and they went out of their way to say, you cannot appeal this. So that last line told me that they knew I was right. Like, how could they possibly allow an appeal? Because they didn't ban me on any real.
Can they do that? Can they basically just say you cannot appeal this and that's it? It's like Like
I mean, they're not a government agency.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if there was something in their sort of terms of service or, you know, that kind of thing.
It probably is, but you know, at the end of the day, I talked to some lawyers. It's not a fight worth fighting. I would pay a lot of money to even fight it. So I've instead switched my motivation to making sure everyone on the planet sees just how hypocritical and just how politically motivated this was. Because if they felt like Pepe memes were something that they were willing to appeal, they knew if I could appeal it that I would win. Like, you can't ban somebody from playing in organized events. By the way, I've attended real life events for over a decade and never had a single problem, ever once. Not a single complaint, not even a warning. No judge has ever said anything to me. And that's in 10 years, hundreds of events. And they banned me from real life over these memes. Like, how could they have? I mean, if you're going to do that, then why even have an appeal? Because you know, everyone knows that you didn't give a shit, that you just banned me because you don't like me. You know, I publicly said I voted for Trump, and a lot of the people there didn't like that too.
Oh no, that's what did it.
I mean, it did put me in a lot of pressure at the time. Because they had some bullshit. Again, I don't care what anybody's politics are. To be clear, I don't care who you vote for. I don't care what you believe. I just want to play games.
It's funny because
it's a simple request.
We've only
especially from a company.
Yeah, it's funny because we've only really started to care at this scale this election. Like, seriously, nobody cared before. Even if you know, whoever you voted for back in the day did not have the kinds of social ramifications it does now. No way, not even close. Yeah,
it's crazy. It's almost like people. I mean, that's the whole hilarity of the polls. You know, that's why that fake newscaster guy, that John Pye guy, he's like, you know. Because you can't ask people outside the poll who they're voting for, because once they get inside there and they close the door behind them, that's like a powerful thing. And that's why nobody saw Trump winning, is because the media was calling everyone all sorts of terrible names. And look, I don't like these people who have like Trump derangement syndrome are like, oh, did you see what your boy tweeted today? Did you see? No, of course. I mean, all politicians are trash. Like, just because I voted for the guy doesn't mean I personally subscribe to everything he does. The only reason I came out public with it is because Wizards of the Coast signed a petition for game companies for Hillary. So I was like, all right, okay, how about this? I'll upload a video. Like, it's like what would make me happy is if they just focused on printing cardboard. I don't want to see they put out, I called them out on International Men's Day. I saw 10 million women's rights tweets and Facebook posts, but not one on International Men's Day. Like, either if you're going to do it, if you're going to do something for Gay Rights Day and you're going to do something for Women's Day, then you better do Men's Day and you better do Children's. It's just easier if you don't. Just don't. Well, that's all I want.
Yeah, but virtue signaling is powerful. And the thing is that men... And I'm not defending them
men
here,
don't complain.
But men do. Yeah, men don't complain. So if you don't celebrate International Men's Day, most men, they don't even know that there is a day. And the ones that do, they're just like, well, I'm not really expecting anybody to make a big fuss out of this, you know.
Well, they tuck it in on Sunday too.
It's even like you know, Father's Day is kind of heading in that direction, right? I mean,
dads don't care. Dads don't need it.
Yeah, or they don't have access to their kids, so they couldn't celebrate it if they wanted to. But that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, salty MRA comment there. Yeah.
Well, let me go ahead. I'm going to read some super chats because they've been sitting here for a little while.
Yeah, you do that. I've got to hit the head real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've got a dip after that, so I'll be right back.
All right. So I got $10 from Joey Jojo, who says, awkward men find hobbies, build hobby up, hobby panders to awkward men. Women force themselves into hobby, get mad that hobby doesn't pander to women. Hobby is then split and co-opted. Thank you, Joey Jojo. And yes, I hear what you're saying. Duck, formerly known as Censor. Hey, what's up, man? He gave us $5 Australian. Says rarity is best pony. Or, yeah, I think that's what the A stands for. I'm not sure. Joey Jojo gives us $2 and says, we need video women like Dahlia from Xenoblade 2. I don't know what you're talking about. I think that's a chick with the tatas. So... And Xeranx gives us $5 and says, getting thirsty guys to not simp is like getting gamers to not clamor for day one DLC. Yes, that is true. It kind of annoys me, but what are you going to do? You can't drive or control the market, but you can at least try to inform people and say, look, this is what you're getting into. now you have, at least you're informed, and maybe you'll make a good choice. I don't know. Destron1201 gives us $2 and says, Samus was great until other M. I didn't play that one, but I've heard things. November Mind gives us $2 and says, yo, goys, love y'all. Well, thank you, November Mind. I never heard of you. Maybe you'll be a sub. And we'd appreciate that here at HBR. And also, I noticed that we got a lot of people who added us on Twitch. I want to thank you guys for doing that. I'm sorry I couldn't go through it, but you probably saw the animation that popped up as you were subbing. And hopefully you guys will come back for more of our Twitch streams. Welcome back, Jeremy.
Hey, sorry, I had to.
It's okay. Now, I know you can't stay very long. So what I'm going to do is, can you stay just while I go through some quick questions that some of the fans have given us? Okay.
Happy to.
So, why would a company like Wizards of the Coast feel the need to police their fan base like this? I guess, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think the question, right? I think if you're in the chat and you probably pose that question, it's like, it's almost rhetorical because there is no reason. It's the same reason as everywhere else. There's a vocal minority that gets into these companies and tells them that that's what they're supposed to do. They put out, you know, things about inclusivity, and then 2 days later ban me for life. I mean, they just they can't even get out of their own way. Nobody cares about what anybody posts on Twitter at all, except for, like, they essentially got involved in high school drama. Think about that. Like a corporation getting involved in high school Twitter drama.
That's crazy, man. It really is. I mean, but like a lot of other companies are guilty of doing it too. Do you remember when Marvel, well, like the people at Marvel, the SJWs there, I think they they got Stan Lee to make a PSA.
Yeah. Oh my God. They were like holding a gun to his head to do it too. He looked so uncomfortable.
He did. He was just like, what do you want me to say? Like, you know, and they just like put this, tell everybody how Marvel's inclusive. And he was like, okay. And then he did it. And people were like, this is really stupid. Like, nobody disagrees with him. He's making the statement that no one disagrees with. It's that I don't want to
even poor old Stan Lee, who's like 100, is like, like you said, this doesn't even need to be said.
Yeah.
Like it, but there he was. Yeah.
Exactly. Anyway, all right. So next question: if Wizards of the Coast demanded a formal I'm sorry. If they were to offer you a return, like they would like to unban you in exchange for an apology from you, would you do it? So if they demanded...
I've asked myself that question. To be honest, like, if they gave me my cards back and unbanned me, they could even give me a formal warning like they gave other people. But then I would only apologize if they then issued an apology to me and had an actual, like, enforceable, like, I would want them to say, we're never going to get involved in this shit again. Then I'll give them their lip service apology. But if they're like, hey, we'll just unban you if you apologize, I'll tell them to get fucked. Like, I don't. This isn't about me getting unbanned as much as it is making a statement that I do not want a company that prints cardboard money to be telling saying what people can and can't do on social media. Yeah. So I would give them, like, I would quietly give them the apology that they asked publicly. If they gave me in writing some sort of, if I believed that they just weren't going to get involved in any of this shit ever again, then I would do it. I would take that to my grave, you know, like, just because it's about making the change, not about me winning.
Yeah. And a reverse, I guess there's another question that's totally inverse of this. If you became unbanned, would you be willing to accept anything but an unconditional, no greater conditions than anyone else return to Wizards of the Coast? So basically, would you ask them,
like, 1 year or something?
Like, well, would you accept an apology? Like, would you say, oh, you know, I'll go back to, like, I'll accept an unbanning if you guys publicly apologize?
No. If they just unban me, they don't have to apologize.
Okay.
Everyone, the unbanning itself would be an apology. You know,
Yeah.
and it's not just me; it's also Travis Wu, professional player.
I'm getting
and
I'm getting to
yeah.
Travis Wu because I actually want to try to get him on and find out what his story is, but maybe you go ahead and finish what you're gonna say, and then tell me what happened to Travis Wu. Like, how did he get banned?
He ran a Facebook group where people posted memes, and he made the horrible mistake of sticking up for me publicly. And that's why he got banned. If he would have kept his head down, he wouldn't have got banned. I'm 100% convinced of that.
Right.
But he made the mistake of publicly saying, "Can you like leave Jeremy alone? Can you like he's my friend? Can you like not?" And then he got banned for a year for this, for just creating a Facebook group where people posted memes, not because of anything he did.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So one thing I've learned from my experience, and I should tell you a little bit about what happened with us at Honey Badger Radio, is if you apologize to social justice warriors, they
never do it.
Never do it. Never.
Yeah.
Now, Wizards of the Coast, maybe they weren't acting ideologically. Maybe they were thinking of this from a business perspective. Maybe they got the idea that if you stayed with them, they would lose more money if
maybe
you stayed than if you left. And maybe they made like a purely, pragmatic choice. I don't know. But just, if you understand where I'm coming from, never, ever, ever, ever apologize to SJWs, especially if you didn't do anything wrong. If you know you did something wrong, then you apologize because you feel remorse and you want to make amends. But if it's just because somebody's claiming that their feelings are hurt and you know you didn't do anything wrong, then
well, that's what I mean. Like, the apology is a slippery slope. Like, am I going to read a prepared statement? Hell no. Would I say, I don't regret my criticism, but I regret in the way in which I delivered it? Sure. That's fine. That's not a concession in my opinion.
Okay.
But if they were like, denounce Pepe as a hate symbol, well, no, I'm not going to do that.
Right. Okay. So going back, so more of these quick questions.
Sure.
Let's see. Someone just made a comment saying, I don't get where Wizard of the Coast has the balls to punish Jeremy for activities outside of their platform and e-services by cutting him off like that. On top of that, wasn't there some weird stalkery shit going on where they're like looking at people's social media?
Yes.
And examining.
It's still going on.
Yeah. This is still going on. So this has nothing to do with their product or their customers. This is all about what people who, I guess, consume their product are doing in their personal lives. It's really fucking weird.
It's like creepy.
Yeah. So there's a video that you just made, and you guys should go check out his channel. I put your Twitter and your YouTube channel in the low bar. I also put a link to the petition, so you guys should be getting some signatures on that.
I mean, it's just, if you're gonna sign it, know that I know it's not going to necessarily change their mind, but that I think the petition with, it's almost at 15,000 signatures or maybe more at this point. Like, it's a headline. That's what I want. Like, normie media will like, if I send an email, Neckbeard gets digital Magic card collection stolen, or if I send an email that says 20,000 people boycott Hasbro in busiest month of year, which one's going to get picked up by Fox, or whatever.
Right.
So it's a strategic thing to get as many signatures as I can.
Sure.
I'm under no illusions that the signatures will change their mind.
But if it hurts their wallet and it hurts their rep, then that might, right?
They don't want CNN running that article this week. They don't. They don't want anybody running that story.
CNN's not going to run it. They're too busy thinking about how many Diet Pepsis Trump drinks in a day.
Yeah, that's true.
But maybe, but maybe Ian Miles Chong might take notice, or some of the One Angry Gamer, and that might spread to like the larger site like Fox, for example. Yeah. So
yeah, Tim Pool reached out to me. So, and I know like he could connect me with a guy like Tucker. Yeah, I know these are all like pie in the sky, but it starts with a big number in that petition, and then I can say, here we go. Like, now, once that thing hits 15,000, then I'm going to start sending it out to news outlets.
Yeah,
like anti-consumer behavior. Read this. I think that gets people's attention.
So people, a lot of what I'm getting in terms of questions has to do with legal recourse. And I know that you mentioned that, you know, it would be too expensive to get a bunch of lawyers for what, like a couple $100 or something that you...
Yeah, it's really not worth suing them for my digital collection. However, I have a plan that is worth suing them for, and that is essentially I've started collecting dirt on everyone who, by their definition, harassed me in the same way. So, like, their employees published I swear I'm not kidding, published a guide on how to false flag my Patreon. Like, employees of Wizards of the Coast did this. So, I have all the screenshots of that, and I have reported them. And when they start not banning them, as we all know they won't, now I have a case. Now I have discrimination.
And there was a guy who, wasn't there a guy who, I mean...
posted a map to my house.
Yeah, put a map to your house with directions on how to get there and shit.
Yeah, so these people have all been reported, and when they don't get DCI banned, and they won't, now we're talking about some serious corporate discrimination.
Yeah.
So, you know, they should have just shut their mouth. So now I'm going to probably report at least 75 people by the end of the week. I've asked people to send me all the evidence. I have all the receipts in my email, and then I'm going to sit back and wait. And when they don't ban them, now we're gonna be having a different conversation. If they do ban them, then I guess what can I say? Then I don't. Then okay, fine. Then this is what you chose to do. You chose to be the internet police. And I'm going to make you regret that decision by having to do 10 investigations a week for the rest of time.
Yeah. Yes, and they did all that because a cosplayer cried over you.
A cosplayer, yeah, they did all that because a cosplayer lied about me.
Lied, right.
Yeah.
And, of course, you know, the thought magic is strong, so the people that came to her rescue, tipping their fedoras the whole way, essentially just made the problem. That didn't have to be a problem, took a controversy and made it to a controversy.
Yeah. Here's what's funny... yeah, Tom, that's right. Make them live by their own rules. That's what I'm doing. I believe that is a rules for radicals method.
Yes,
but
yes.
That's what I'm doing. This is how you defeat them. And you know, oh shit, what was I going to say? I feel like I was going to say something pretty prolific.
Profound statement incoming.
Yeah. What did you say? What did we say right before?
I was talking about the thought magic. So, the White Knights came and essentially they took a non-controversy because it was come from a lie and turned into a controversy. Yeah.
And here's what I said before they ever banned me. Let me write the statement for you, and this is a good. And sorry, I got a dip, but I've got another show to be on.
Who are you gonna? Well, that's okay.
I'm gonna be on Hard Bastard right after.
Oh, that's right, Aiden. I was just talking to her about that. Yeah. Okay.
So here's how I want all corporations to deal with this for the end of time. We hear your complaints. However, we have, you know, our business is hard, and making magic isn't easy. And as a corporation, we have a policy to not get involved in social media matters. If it's something that happens in real life at one of our events, we will be involved, you can assure, with the strictest of penalty. But we're not going to get involved in social media. Done. Done. Then nobody says anything. It all goes away. They're salty about it for like 2 days because we all know SJWs have really short attention spans. And like they're just done with it. Instead, they waited 2 weeks when everybody forgot about it and then banned me.
Yeah.
They should have just let it die. Everyone already forgot about it.
I'm sorry. That sucks. Well, now I want to tell you, because I know you got to go, but I want to tell you how this is relevant to us. So, 2.5 years ago, Allison, who runs Honey Badger Radio, Allison Tiemann, this is her baby, okay? She also made comics. Uh-oh, my dog's getting excited. Jojo, shut up. She also makes comics, okay? And she bought a booth at the Calgary, which is in Alberta, the Calgary Comic Expo. Cost her thousands of dollars, not only to get the booth, but also to build, get all the stuff to build like a display for the booth, okay? And she decided that while she was there primarily to sell her comics, she wanted to show some support for Gamergate, and she wanted to get all the other Badgers up So, you know, we raised some money to fly the Badgers up. Me, Mike from the UK, Dr. Ranamakam, Anna Cherry, and her man Shiva, and Hannah from Ohio. Anna Cherry came from California. Karen came from Edmonton. Everybody, right? And this is the first time we ever got to meet each other in person, too. It was like something we wanted to do. So, spend all the money to get everybody up there to Calgary Expo, and while her booth there was primarily for selling her book, we also thought we would tell everyone that, you know, of our listeners that we were going to be there if they wanted to come and meet us. You know, we would be at the Calgary Expo, and this is where our booth was at, because we wanted to meet the people that watch our show. And on the first day, we had a giant poster that was essentially a very simple. It has like a bunch of honey badgers on it, and it said, you know, fighting against censorship or some message along those lines. And it had the Gamergate logo. Didn't say Gamergate, just had the logo on it. So the only way you would know that it was related to Gamergate is if you knew what Gamergate was, right? It didn't read Gamergate anywhere. And other than that, there were honey badger paraphernalia, like posters and stuff, and there was her comic, and that was it. And while we were there on day one, Allison spent thousands at this point. There was a panel called the Woman in Comics panel that was going on. Allison wanted to go to it. She wanted to see what it was about because she herself was a woman in comics. So she goes to this thing, and she brings Sage Gerard, who is one of another one of these, you know, YouTuber MRAs that I'm friends with, and they go to this thing. And I'm there managing the booth with Mike and a couple of the others. While Allison's at the panel, there's a discussion topic. So basically, it's all these women, and it's not really a woman in comics panel. It's more of a feminists in comics panel.
Right,
right?
it always is.
Always, right. And they're up there complaining. That's what they do. They're just complaining. And one of them complains about MRAs. She's like, "What are these?" And I don't even know what it's about, because I just know that she's complaining about MRAs just being a thing that exists. Oh. And there's a problem, apparently. And Allison stands up and she says, "I would like to field that question if that's okay," right? She offers to field the question, and they say, "Sure, go ahead." And so she says, "I am a men's rights activist, so you can take it out on me if you have a problem with MRAs." And then she explains that the reason why she doesn't like feminism is because it turns women into victims and men into monsters, essentially, right?
Yeah.
But she does it in a really respectful way. And it actually starts a dialogue. So this panel was really boring. It was basically just a bunch of, you know, feminists on a stage talking at an audience, and it was not a discussion. And if you've been to VidCon or other places that have feminist panels or social justice ones, that they're all like that. They're talking at you, and you don't get to disagree, right? So she did. It turned to a healthy discussion. It was very interesting. She even spoke to some people afterwards, and she left. And the women on the panel were totally nice to her, right? Then later that day, or maybe like around that time, we started seeing tweets by the Mary Sue at the Calgary Expo saying, "These people are dangerous and they should not be here." So the Mary Sue is a feminist website, in case you don't know.
I know it.
Yeah. So they're essentially calling for us to be removed. Like, we're the worst. How did you even let these Gamergaters in here? They're Nazis and rapists and all that, right? And so the first day is fine, but we did notice that the Mary Sue was not happy with us, and they actually photographed our booth. Then we go home. We don't think anything about it. Yeah, it's super creepy because they were like hiding and taking pictures of us, and you know, we didn't know about it. So we go home. We don't think about it. We have like a stream. Everyone gets drunk. We have a great time. Next day comes. We go back for day 2, and there are people who came to visit us on day 1, by the way, who were terrified for us. Like, there were people who came to, like, "What are you guys, I hope you're going to be okay, because you're displaying a Gamergate logo, and who knows what can happen." And we were like, well, somebody's got to make it public. Like, I think it was the first time that the Gamergate thing was put in a public space at that scale, where, you know, people were just like, this is what it is, right? And if somebody wanted to talk to us about it, they could. But they were scared for us. So the second day we go, and I get there a little bit later, and Allison and her husband are tearing down the booth, and she's in tears. And it's because when she showed up, they told her she has to leave. So we got kicked out of the Calgary Expo. Second day, we spent thousands, or Allison more accurately, spent thousands, as well as the people who donated to get us all out there, spent thousands to go to this thing. And on the second day, we get kicked out. And not only did we get kicked out of the Calgary Expo that day, but Allison herself was permanently banned from all Calgary Expo or any Comic-Con in Canada forever. Like all the cons in Canada that the Calgary Expo essentially sponsors forever. Okay.
That's insane.
Yeah, because of that. Because we had a Gamergate logo. And we turned it into a 2.5-year long legal battle because obviously, well, we had a couple of, I mean, I can't give away what happened yet because they're still working out the kinks, but let's just say that for now, this whole thing is reaching its conclusion. But this has become an issue of free speech that we were able to set precedent for in Canada. Because there were other people who got kicked out. There was a guy who had like a Christian-themed booth at a Comic-Con, and he was kicked out. And he didn't
even cares.
Right, exactly. I mean, like he had this tiny booth with like these little Christian books or whatever, and he wasn't hurting anyone. He wasn't he was just sitting there, and people were just like, "This is not allowed," you know. And they gave him the boot. So we were able to set some precedent. But the main thing is that when I saw what happened with you and this permanent ban that came from, you know, like this on high sort of a corporate source, I thought this is a lot like our situation, except that we were fortunate enough that we were able to, we had fans that were willing to support us to get through this in a legal way, because what we're trying to do, we don't care about the money that much. Okay. For us, it's about getting the Calgary Expo and the Mary Sue to admit that they were wrong, because they were, especially the Mary Sue. They were, I mean, they are my fucking enemy right now, okay? And they have been for 2.5 years for what they did. So,
solidarity, man.
Yeah, for sure. And
I want to talk more about that maybe offline sometime.
Yeah.
It's very, I feel like that's a really deep story, and I've got to jump.
You gotta go.
Okay.
I don't want to take up this show went on longer than I expected. Normally fireside chats are like an hour, but it was so interesting I didn't want to just take off right away. So I want to thank you, Jeremy, for taking the time to come on. Tell Hard Bastard and Aiden that I'm sorry I kept you.
All right.
But I think they'll understand. So, and I want to thank you guys for watching us on the fireside chat. If you're watching from Twitch or YouTube, please consider subscribing to Honey Badger Radio if you're new. We do lots of live streams, and sometimes we actually have something interesting to say. So be sure to check with us next time. Thank you so much.